Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of After Hours in the STEM Center with Rance Bobo. This evening, we have another Kenyatta alumni, and actually, this is one of our most recent graduates, and she had, transferred from Kenyatta in 2018. So tonight, it is a privilege to have Marleny. Marleny, welcome to After Hours in the STEM Center with Rance Bobo.
Hi, thank you. I'm
How
really
are
excited to
you?
do this right now.
Awesome. Well, we're glad to have you. It's such a privilege to always bring back, um, you know, alumni, and especially recent, transfer students. Typically, some of our speakers, they transferred, you know, 15 years ago, and things have changed a whole lot.
Yeah,
But you are one of our recent transfer students. You're just getting your career started. And also too, you had, done a lot um, on the campus. So it's just good to have you back. So also to all of you in the audience, we do encourage your participation. So please use the question and answer box so we can, take your questions live, because we know that definitely enriches the episode.
definitely. And I love questions, so I would like everybody to feel free to ask anything that they're curious about.
All right. So Marleny, so go ahead and give us tell us a little bit about yourself, your start prior to coming to Kenyatta, and then why you chose Kenyatta College.
All right, sounds good. I was actually born in San Francisco. I went to school up until like elementary in Redwood City. And I moved to Guatemala at the age of 11. And then when I finished high school, I moved back to the US and I moved back to Redwood City. So moving back to Redwood City, I needed to figure out like how to go to college and where to go. Um, I didn't know much about community colleges or like 4 years in general. I didn't have really that guidance. To me, first, I chose to go to CSM because I heard a lot about it and everybody spoke about it. I went to see the campus and everything, and I was like, okay, great, like let me go here. However, I didn't exactly I feel like it wasn't my place yet. And then after that, somebody told me like, oh, like it seems like you need more assistance. Like, have you tried Kenyatta? Like, they could really help you. And then I was like, okay, yeah, definitely. Let me go check it out. And so I did. I came to Kenyatta, went to like ask for like a counselor, see like if they could help me more. And it was closer to me because it was in Redwood City. And they created this 2-year plan for me, and I felt very welcomed, and I felt like they were like being more helpful with the information that I needed. They also like kind of like spoke to me about financial aid and stuff, and I wasn't aware of any of that. So ultimately, like at the end, I just felt like it felt more homey to me, so I ended up choosing Kenyatta. And that's kind of how I started at Kenyatta. I'm not sure if you would like me to go further on until now, or just stop at that.
So yeah, we'll continue. So it's funny. We do. It seems like that's what happens. A lot of students tend to go to, CSM, because CSM, it's a large campus. I mean,
Yeah,
when I had first went to CSM, I thought it was a 4-year institution. I mean, it seems like it's like essentially the same size as Cal State East Bay, right across the bridge. I mean, that's how big that campus is. And so I was just like, okay. And then, I mean, your story is, we've had so many speakers who participate this semester who mentioned that they started at CSM and then they ended up at Kenyatta. So, you mentioned that, the services that you received at Kenyatta, that's what caught your eye and, brought you to Kenyatta. Was the STEM Center a part of that, or did you learn about the STEM Center later?
I learned about the STEM Center a little bit later. I was told about the programs that were available. However, when I first moved there, like I was a little shy about everything, and I was a little nervous about going to new places and asking for help. So I didn't quite make it to the STEM Center, and yeah, but eventually I did. But at the very beginning, I didn't really go. And I also like the first year, you're usually taking elective classes and things like that. And I wasn't like really taking that many science classes. So I didn't feel like I needed to like make it there yet. So yeah.
Okay, okay. Um, and then so when you went to Kenyatta, did you have a major in mind?
Yeah, I did. So when I first started, I wanted to be pre-med. So I went into like talking to the counselor and I was like, I want to be pre-med. This is what I want to do. Like, what are the majors that you recommend? And like she mentioned a few, and I had in mind biology because that's kind of what I figured that would lead me to be able to go like in the pre-med route. And so they were like, yeah, biology is one of the options. So like that's how my plan started. I planned to get my associates in biology and then transfer and like study like just general biology. That was originally like what I thought I wanted to study. Yeah.
Okay, okay. And then so you got this plan, biology, pre-med, and then how did the STEM Center come into your life?
So it took a little bit. So like I mentioned, like the first year I did most of my electives, so I didn't really like need to go to the STEM Center. Like for like the more intro math, I could just go to the tutoring center like at the front of the STEM Center, which didn't require me to go to the STEM Center, so I would mostly stay there. After that, I did take some time off where I was mostly part-time, and I did take a quarter off or two, I believe. I mean, sorry, semester, uh, where I didn't go to Kenyatta because like of my circumstances. I just had to work a lot. But eventually, when I was ready and I was all set and ready to go, and I was in, I believe, 2017. Um, that's when I took my first Gen Chem class. And I had Professor Elizabeth Burley, and she was actually one of like I believe a coordinator as well or something for the STEM Center. I don't remember exactly her title, but I know she worked in the STEM Center and she was my professor. And so I was like in class and I told her like, oh, I have questions, like what time is your office hours? And she told me like, oh, like these are the times. I'm located at the STEM Center. And I was like, okay, I have to go to the STEM Center. And I started talking to her first because I would go ask her for help. And then obviously I knew that there was tutoring there and everything. But like I mentioned before, I was kind of like shy and nervous to ask for help from other students. I didn't know, like, I didn't know what to expect, I guess. But that's kind of how I really got introduced to the STEM Center, like through one of my professors. And multiple of my other professors, like for math and like calculus and stuff, like they all told me the same thing, like come to the STEM Center, come to the STEM Center. But it was just something that like for some reason I feared. But then I made it there because of Professor Burley. After that, I felt really comfortable. I started um, asking for more tutoring help. I would go into for drop-in tutoring for like all the other students. And eventually, after I finished my first Gen Chem class, I was so excited and passionate about chemistry that I like talked to Josue about potentially tutoring Gen Chem. And that's how I really got more involved. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So wow, so it seemed like you tried avoiding the STEM Center, like it was just like it's the street in the neighborhood that you just don't walk down, you know. And then
Yeah.
so you pull back the curtains and
Yeah.
then you started seeing what was really going on in the STEM Center. And then it seemed like, your second home, which we'll get into later. And then so once you got involved in the STEM Center, now you got this tutoring job, you're tutoring, other students? Because I mean, when I first started working there and I met you, it seemed like you were running the place, you know. It was, I mean, I would have never known that you know, you had these feelings and, you know, interpretations about going into the STEM center. Then so names, I mean, you know, could you share with us some of the benefits that you received, you know, while being a STEM student and, you know, utilizing the STEM center at Kenyatta, and go into a little bit how it has helped you um, into, you know, laying the foundation for your career?
So the STEM Center, I think, well, it's not that I think, I know it's a great resource. Um, it helped me a lot because we had like those sessions that basically we have like a student that assists the class that can help you with what you're like learning in the class. So that really benefited me in like calculus, because that's where like one of my main struggles was. Like I really struggled with calculus. I did do well, but it was thanks to like all the tutoring and all the help and all the advice from all the different students, because then you would get different perspectives and you would hear different approaches to things. um and also, like, besides just like the help from the tutors, there's also all of you guys really like helped us like find other paths, like show us about like internships, tell us about like scholarships, tell us about opportunities that would help us like enrich our career. So that was something that I really appreciated. I'm not sure if Kathy's still there, but I remember her. She was always like pushing, like, oh, apply for this, you qualify for this, you should apply. And sometimes it felt like, oh my God, so many emails. But like, it was really good that she did that, because that's how you get sometimes like students like me that are scared to apply to do it, because after so many times you're like, okay, you know what, maybe I should do this. I will probably benefit from this. And I benefited a lot. I did obtain I believe 2 or 3 scholarships through like either because somebody from the STEM Center recommended me, or they told me about it, or uh, something along those lines. So it really helped me. Yeah. And then besides that, after like what really like I feel like enriched more my experience was tutoring and also assisting for one of the classes. Yeah. I feel like that was another way to make an impact in paying forward what like I had received already. And I wanted to help those students that felt like me and were scared of going in there. So I wanted to be the friendly face and be like, hey, come here, it's okay. Like, no worries. I also don't know that. We'll learn together. Yeah. So
Right, that's awesome. That's cool to hear. That's cool to hear. Yeah, because I, you know, I do remember you, you know, sitting at the desk behind me, you know, as you know, students would come in with your smile, you know, greeting people and just answering questions. So, you know, that's really cool. That's awesome. So did you ever take advantage of the internships that were offered at this at Kenyatta?
yeah, like I did one of the internships that I did do was a 2-week internship with San Francisco State. And it was through Spires, which is a program that I believe you guys have like some sort of connection with San Francisco State, and that's how I got it, because of Kathy. And like she told me all about it, and she told me how to apply and what to do, and I did that, and I thought that was a really enriching opportunity, because it was like one of the first times that I got exposed to research. It was just like 2 weeks, like I mentioned, which was is not a lot for research, but it was a good way to kind of get an intel of like, oh, what does research consist about? What is it like? What are we doing? Like, what does it look like? And also getting that experience of talking to professionals that are in like the field that you're might be going into. So like I thought that was like an amazing experience, and it also like boosted up my resume as well, because then I could at least say that yes, I had knowledge about these things. I had seen these things. I am aware of how to like do certain procedures, or I've seen like different experiments going on, or different techniques and stuff. So that was one of the things that like I really like appreciated from that. Yeah.
Awesome. Um, so with that being said, I mean, that internship kind of allowed you to see like, okay, research is for me or research is not for me, or let me choose a different career path, you know. So was that the only internship that you had done, or was there others?
No, actually, I did sign up for another internship, which was, I believe, a year later after that, which was also through the same program to San Francisco State, but this one was supposed to be like a summer long. So I believe it was like about 2 months. However, that's when I realized that I did like research, but I didn't like just any type of research. I was more interested in chemistry research and or biochemistry rather than biology. So it really showed me that because of all the material, I was like, okay, well, the approach is really cool, but I'm not really interested in like the topic kind of thing. So yes, it did help me realize that I do like research. I have like a preference for certain things. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. That's good to know, because, you know, it allows you to make, sound choices, as far as what you
Yeah.
want to do.
It gives me more choices. Yeah, definitely.
All right. You can read it and be like, nope, not for me. So give that to someone else. Because the thing is, you want to be happy with what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then so, um, also at Kenyatta, weren't you involved with the student senate as well?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't involved with the student senate. I knew a lot of people from the student senate, but I was
Okay.
not involved in the student senate. No, yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, I thought you were involved in that because I know you were doing a whole lot when you were at Kenyatta. So,
Yeah, I was doing a assistant for like one of the professors for chemistry. So I did do like the epic sessions for Gen Chem, and I also tutored for chemistry. But that's about it. And I also was like a student assistant to like the STEM Center, just helping create like flyers and anything that like would help like promote any like meetings or like the STEM speaker series. Like I would also help with those. Like yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, um, now when you transferred, so my understanding, so you started out as a bio major,
Hmm.
and then when you transferred, what was your major?
So I still completed my associates in biological sciences, but I did not apply for biology. I no longer wanted to do biology. I wanted to do chemistry. I really wanted to do just chemistry, but I'm a first generation student, and I also knew that what if like I want more opportunities or I want to learn more, I want to branch out more. So then I like spoke to like Professor Medina, my OCHEM professor, Professor Barile. I spoke to Professor Tricka, like all of our chemistry professors, like in the department. I spoke to Professor Staples because like kind of asked all of our professors in STEM like what their journey was and like what they did or what degree did they obtain, like just to see like what can you do with these degrees, right? So then ultimately at the end of the day I decided that I wanted to do biochemistry because I thought that that would give me more flexibility with my future goals. So I transferred into a biochemistry program.
Okay. So you left Kenyatta, and then you had went to Davis.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, your experience was one of the unique experiences because that year, I think like 12 of you guys transferred to Davis together, and then like 70 guys or something like that. You guys lived together.
It was like five of us. Yeah, and we all lived together the first year.
Yeah, that was like, I mean, to me, I look at that, I'm just like, wow, that's a pretty interesting experience. You guys, Kenyatta together and just like a happy little family moved on to Davis together and lived together at Davis. That was pretty, I mean, I thought that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, we were at the STEM center when our pastimes for like housing came through, and we were like, oh my God, everybody get on board, let's go. And like it was everybody, like we were all tutors from the STEM center. We were all part of like the STEM. So yeah, it was like a little
So,
family.
so I mean, I gotta, actually, you guys are the only, I'm gonna say, cohort who did that, because also that same year, we had quite a large number. Well, I'm not gonna say a large number, like 9 who went down to UC San Diego,
Hmm.
but none of them lived together. And none of them knew that they were in San Diego until I went down there and I invited everybody together for lunch. And everybody's like, they all knew each other, but they didn't know they were all there. So that was pretty interesting. So what was it like living with, you know, people you went to Kenyatta with? I mean, you guys never lived together, so now you guys decided to live together. Explain that, because I mean, to me, I'm still impressed with that. I'm like, wow, how did that happen? So how was that? And don't share any dirty secrets or anything like that. This is being recorded.
Well, it was a really great experience because I think we all like uh, because we were always like in the STEM center, and we were always so like centered like around like, I guess, making like following certain rules, and like drafting up like a plan and stuff like that, like how to like interact and how to work with people. I think we all like, since the beginning, we all like sat down and we're like, okay, this is how our house is going to run, kind of thing. Like, this is what we're going to do to maintain our house. This is what we're going to do to like everybody has their like space and stuff, everybody's like respectful of each other. So it was a really good experience personally, I think, because it felt transitioning to like a new place is always like challenging. So in a way, even though like Davis seemed like, oh my God, it's really hard once we actually started, something about having these people that I already knew and that I saw every day before was so comforting, that like if anything went like wrong, I could easily talk to them and everybody would be there to support each other. So even though like sometimes, because we had different schedules and stuff, we wouldn't see each other that much, it was just comforting to know that I knew these people and that we all had each other's back. So that's how I felt about it. Yeah, so I thought it was a great experience. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. I know. Yeah, because I know some were math majors. You had a computer science major.
Uh-huh.
Those are then of course your major. So
Yeah, and
that's what kind
nutrition
of
too.
right.
Melissa,
So
yeah.
yeah, so you guys weren't like the same classes together,
Yeah.
but to be able to come home to see a familiar face, I guess, was very comforting.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, no, I mean, true. I mean, that can make the whole college experience and help you focus as well, because you guys all come from the same place. You guys all have the same goal to graduate, but could keep each other moving forward. So that's awesome. So then I got to ask, um, do you still keep in touch with your former roommates and classmates?
I try, but it's really hard because after like that first year, we all like made new friends. We all met new people, like, and I met a lot of friends that we were like in the same major and stuff. So like I ended up living with them, and everybody kind of took their own path after the first year. And it's just like you meet so many people, like especially like I think I'm pretty social, so I did make a lot of friends. So it's really hard to like try to keep up with everybody, but I like to keep it like friendly and like still like say, hey, how are you, kind of thing, here and there. But yeah, it's a little challenging to keep up with everybody. Yeah, but I keep track of them, like, okay, they graduated great. Like when everybody graduated, I was like, congratulations, like, like I'm happy and proud, yeah.
Perfect, good,
It's good to
because I
see
want to
it.
invite them, to be a part of the speaker series. So I'm gonna hit you up later on.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so now let's talk about that transition. So from Kenyatta, you chose UC Davis.
Hmm.
Um, you going with other Kenyattans, and you guys were living together. I guess your social support system was already there because you had them with you, so you really didn't have to worry about that, because you had that outside of school, that social support, that's family. Because sometimes when people transfer, it's like being a freshman all over again, so to speak. You
Hmm.
know no one, you don't know the environment, but in your case, you were fortunate to have some good friends. Now let's talk about the academic support and services, making that adjustment because, coming from Kenyatta, which is a semester system, going to Davis, which is a quarter system, how was that transition for you? And then we'll just talk about that, part of your academic journey. But first, let me ask, why did you choose Davis?
So I got into several schools. They were all really good schools. I did debate. Uh, I had to make some difficult decisions. Some people wanted me to choose a different school.
So let's talk about those other schools. Start, name dropping. We want to hear what other schools you got into.
My top four schools that I wanted to or choose from were Davis, Berkeley, San Diego, and Santa Cruz. Um, and I had the option to choose whichever I wanted to. Ultimately, I did choose Davis. I did debate Berkeley and Davis, and a lot of people were like, "Why didn't you go to Berkeley?" But to me, I chose Davis because that's where I saw opportunity of growth, opportunity of me obtaining like research opportunities, be able to like develop my career, make connections, feel comfortable and welcomed. I just felt like that campus really like resonated with me. So that's the reason I chose Davis. Like I chose it because I felt that I could be successful there, and I felt that I could uh, do. I could make it the most I could, where in other places I felt like there was something that I was gonna like I already knew that I was going to struggle regardless. But in other places, I was like, well, it seems like I'm gonna struggle and I'm still not gonna get where I want to be. So I wanted somewhere where I would have to struggle, but I could still somehow figure it out and get what I wanted out of it. So that's why I chose Davis. Yeah, and I love my decision. I'm super happy that I went to Davis. I love the campus. I love the culture. I received so many different opportunities. I'm super grateful. So I will I'm very content with the decision I made. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. And look, you even found a job.
Yeah, I did. I did find a job. I actually found a part-time job at a biotech company after my first year at Davis.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll talk about that in a minute. So when you got to Davis, did you find any program similar to what we have here at Kenyatta? Did you find like a STEM center there, or something within your department kind of similar to the STEM center?
So they did have the biological sciences department. So that was like my department. Did have like similar to like a STEM center, I guess, where they would offer tutoring and they did have some TAs and things like that. However, once again, the same thing that happened with the STEM center. I was so like uh nervous to go there. I didn't want to go inside. It seems so intimidating. It was really scary. Instead, what I did was just make a lot of classmates that I saw understood the material and make study groups with them. That's what worked for me, and that's what made me comfortable. So that's what I did. But they did have a program, and they do have resources for those that feel comfortable. So yeah, they definitely did. Everybody, like my advisors, told me but they mostly also have it for lower division classes. For some of like the upper division classes that I took, there really wasn't like that much availability for tutors and stuff. So it was also like kind of difficult because of like my class schedule. It was just like I would have to miss class or something to go. So it was a little bit more challenging to like fit into my schedule as well. Yeah. So I
Okay.
found another way around it.
Hey, well,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what it is. You got to be resourceful.
Yeah.
Um,
But the good thing also about like Davis is that for most of my classes, they did have like the TAs had a lot of office hours. So you could go to them and ask them all these questions. It was almost similar to like having a tutor. Because usually like you could schedule an appointment with them and it would just be like a one-on-one kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then you mentioned, at Kenyatta, 2 internships, which allowed you to, feel, what's the best fit for you. Did you partake of any internships at Davis?
Yeah, I actually did research for 6 months. So that was technically an internship. Um, I didn't like this wasn't like something that they like in the internships that I received at the STEM Center were put together, I feel like by the STEM Center, where like it facilitated me access to it and it made things a little bit easier like to apply and to get into. Whereas at Davis, like they had resources on how to seek for research opportunities and how to get these internships, but it wasn't like as accessible. Like you would have to put a lot of more work in, I guess you could say. So I did obtain a research opportunity. Actually, my first one was at the chemistry department. We were going to work with glycoproteins. And it was a topic that I was so interested in. I was like, oh my God, this is great. I'm so happy that she said yes. And then she's like, yeah, you can have your own project. You're going to be able to like do like whatever you'd like. And I'm going to pair you with this grad student. And it sounded amazing, right? And then I went for like 2 weeks probably into the lab. But it seems like I think they were more prepared for somebody that had been at Davis for the whole 4 years, somebody that had a little bit more experience in like lab techniques and like research and stuff, and I didn't. So it was like kind of challenging for me to like try to figure out my own experiments when I didn't even know how to use any of the apparatuses that they had. I didn't really know a lot about sterile techniques or any lab techniques in general. So like I realized that I was like, this is not how I'm going to learn. This is not like where I'm going to get the experience that I'm looking for. Like I need something where they can teach me first and then I can help them do it. Like I'm not ready to take that big leap yet. So I spoke to her and I told her, and she was like, oh no, it's okay. Like if you ever want to come back, like it's always good to talk to them, because she's like, if you ever want to come back, just let me know. Like it's I totally understand. But it was really nice to meet you. So like if you do want to come back in the future, just let me know and we can arrange something. Um, so then I kept looking for other labs where like they had something that interested me. And I have a friend that actually, so it's always good to make connections too, because this friend, she was in this lab, and I told her how I felt about my previous lab where I was doing research, and she was like, oh well, my postdoc is she's looking for uh she needs help, like she's looking for somebody. Do you think you would be interested? And I was like, yeah, sure, tell me more about the research. And she told me, and I was like, yeah, that sounds super interesting and it sounds super cool. And also it sounds like she will teach me how to do it before she just leaves me on my own, which allows me to learn all of these techniques and how to use all of these apparatuses, like all of the things that I was looking for. So I did. I went into the lab. Well, I emailed her and I told her like, oh, I introduced myself. I told her where my interests were. I told her what I was looking for. And she was like, okay, like, let's have a meeting, like an interview. So we had an interview with the postdoc and the PI, which is the principal investigator. And after that, they were like, yeah, we want you to join our lab. I will like teach you all of these things. And it was a lot. It was really intense, but I am super grateful because I did learn a lot of things that now I apply to my jobs, and sometimes I don't necessarily need to because I learned a little bit extra, I felt. So it was really nice. It was a really enriching opportunity that I had. Yeah.
Awesome. So then, well, there's a few points that, I like what you said. One, those connections are very important.
Yeah.
You got to learn to represent yourself, speak to people. I mean, because then opportunities will open up. And then two, something that you said was very important too is I like the fact that the the first opportunity, it's not like you were in over your head, and you recognized that, and then you took a step back, which is also commendable. because, you're trying to build experience, you're trying to make things happen. And it's just like, if you don't, know your limits, you can hang yourself, so to speak. And that's awesome that you're like, no, let me find something else. Now, with this second opportunity, what was the research on?
So the second opportunity was in a plant biology department. So we did research in switchgrass. Their main focus was biofuels, and we were trying to change the conformation of other molecules into certain other molecule that we were targeting. I can't really go into specifics, but because everybody has their own like protocols for things and the way they run their lab. But
Okay.
that's basically like the general idea of what they were trying to do. But it was really cool. You really got to learn a lot of techniques that you would talk about in the lab or like in your classes, and then you would go to lab and you would be like, oh, this is what they're talking about, and everything would just make so much sense. Like I learned how to do like RNA extractions. I learned how to like use a big gas chromatography apparatus. I learned like all of these things that they talked to me about in class that I was like kind of confused about. And they were like, and they would tell me, oh yeah, transformations and these like big vocabulary words like in science, where I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense, but it didn't make sense. And then I would go into lab, and then my postdoc would be like, okay, we're going to be working on this, and they would tell me the name of like the method or whatever we're doing. And it was so cool because then I'd be like, oh, that makes sense. So this is how it happens. Oh, so this is what really happens, and this is what it looks like. It's so yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so it's just like that hands-on learning, tactical learning. It helps you understand, the theoretical, learning, or what they're talking about in the class.
Yeah.
So if you guys have any questions, if you guys can type them into the Q&A box, and then we'll answer them live. Someone does have a question, but we answer them live. So go ahead and type in your question. So just real quick, we're going to go back to the quarter semester transition from the community college to the UC. How was that transition from you? Because I know like with the semester system, it's 16 weeks and the quarter is like 9 or 10 weeks. How was that transition for you?
That was so challenging. That was probably one of the things I underestimated the most. I was a Kenyatta my last year. I did really well. I took like 16 units, I think, like my last 2 quarters. I took like 8 units for summer, and I did really well. And I was like, I got this, like, I've handled all of this, and I was working and stuff. So in my head, again, limits, know your limits. I was like, I can do this. Like, I'm going to do so well in Davis. Like, I'm prepared because I'm going to be taking less units. And I had this whole idea, right? Like, that it was just going to be like similar because I took so many more units when I was uh, in semesters. Um, but once I started like my classes at Davis and the quarter system, it was really quick. It was like half of what a semester is. Everything was like, oh my God, you have a midterm on week 2. And I was like, wait, what? Like, I already have to study. Oh my God. Like, I've barely had time to learn this. Like, oh my God. Like, I have an exam tomorrow and I'm going to get tested on what I learned yesterday. It was a lot. It was a lot. I definitely overdid it. I took more than I needed to. I overbooked myself my first quarter. Like, I didn't do well. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't do well my first quarter. It was really challenging. I felt really disappointed with myself. I thought like, oh my God, I'm never gonna make it in this school. But again, I reminded myself, uh, like, I need to see what I did wrong, or not what I did wrong, but see what I can do better next time to improve all of those areas where I didn't excel as much as I thought I was, and see what I could actually handle, because this was a different scenario. It was a different way for them to run classes. It was a different level of academic. So it took me some adjustment, but again, talking to advisors, talking to professors, keeping in the loop like with uh, everybody that was like involved in like your life, like throughout like your academics, was really important, because if you spoke up, then most likely they could help you, whether it was like assist you in like your learning, or maybe give you a little bit of extra time on your deadlines and stuff, because they understood that you were like coming in like brand new, and they knew that you needed to learn how to like manage all of these things. But something important that I did learn when I was at Davis is that you need to speak up. You need to like say what's going on. You need to advocate for yourself, or else you're not really going to be as successful as you could be. But if you advocate for yourself, and you speak to everybody, you make those connections, and you really like lay it out like what's going on, like most likely, like I'm not going to say it's going to be perfect, but you will receive more assistance, and it will be a more smoother trajectory. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because, unfortunately, people have a tendency to suffer in silence.
Yeah.
Yeah, or they learn to just wear a smile, but they're dying on the inside. And it's
Yeah.
just like, yeah, you can't do that, with education. I mean, really, you shouldn't be doing that with anything in life, but, particularly right now, this is the start of your life. You're laying the
Yeah.
foundation for your future. So I'm glad that you brought that out. Now let's get to now you said you worked at a company while you were in school.
Hmm.
So did that start out as an internship, or was that just straight employment?
It was straight employment. Yeah. So actually, I already had. So what really helped me to get like that job was the 6 months of research I had at Davis. And the previous internships that I did, because then it gave me some more like additional techniques, or like knowledge of those concepts, or techniques that they would use as well. So that's what really helped me. But again, the way that I received this job, or that I saw this opportunity, was through connections. Uh, I actually, this wasn't a school connection. This is a really like funny story, kind of. So I also worked at Starbucks during the time that I was in my undergrad. Um, and just like we are right now, we're talking, right? I love talking to people. Talk to people, please talk to people. It's good to talk to people. And somebody, like there's so many people in Davis, you never know who you're talking to. Like it could be Chancellor May. He also used to come through our drive through. So many people that are like already professionals in their careers, like, and they have like 5 minutes of their time that they're just going to sit there and talk to you. So like I started talking to this person, and I was like, it was actually on New Year's. I was like, Happy New Year's. Like, how are you? How's it going? And then she was like, Oh, I just got off my job and I'm going to my other job. And I was like, Oh, okay, well, hustling, that's good. And then she was like, and then I asked her, like, Oh, like, where do you work? And she tells me, I work at Genentech. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. And then she was like, yeah, I just got off of there. And then I was like, oh my God, that's really, really cool. And then she's like, yeah, and I'm going to my other job. And I was like, what's your other job? And she's like, it's this biotech company right around the corner. That's the company where I worked at, called Novozymes. And she tells me about this company. And then I asked her, I was like, so do you have any advice for me? Like, I'm going to be graduating at the end of this year. And she also studied biochemistry. I was like, is there any advice that you could give me, or like anything that you would recommend me to do during this time? And then she was like, actually, we need assistance in the lab right here. And it's a part-time position. It's perfect for uh, a college student. She was like, we need assistance with that. Would you be interested in it? And I was like, yeah, of course. Let me give you my information. And I was so nervous. I gave her my information and I forgot to grab her information, and something that you should do when you try to make connections. But I totally didn't, because, it was quick. I wasn't really thinking. I didn't even expect that. It came out of the blue. But she did reach out to me, and then I ended up like getting the information for like the supervisor and everybody. And I emailed them and I reached out to them. So like this job, apparently they don't post it. They recruit people like by kind of like connections. So in this case, she just really liked my energy. She really liked how enthusiastic I was about like my career. So she kind of offered me this, and then I applied and I it was my first formal interview. It was so scary. It was so many interviews. It was like they did all the interviews in one day. It was 3 interviews back to back, and each interview was with like 2 people, and the last interview was with 4 different people. It was really scary. But I just kept being myself, and I kept just being bubbly as always, and told them exactly what I wanted to do, and they liked me, and I got the job.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So let's go back. So, I'm just trying to, take all this in and, the learning lessons. So your experience with your internships that you had allowed you to be prepared for this professionally.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it's very important, you would say for students to, if possible, internships, some type of lab work to make themselves marketable.
Definitely. I definitely think that any internship, obviously every career is different. Not everybody is going to do research. It really depends on like everybody kind of has an idea of what would make them outstanding. But any type of experience that's related to your career is really important, especially if you want to seek for a job right after college, or if you're trying to go to grad school after college. It's really important to have these experiences because they're looking for that. They want to know that you learn more than just read the textbook or that than just quiz, because at the end of the day, like, nobody asked me for my GPA for when I applied for jobs. Nobody asked for my degree at that point anymore. They just like read, okay, yeah, you have your bachelor's, but what's your experience? Like, that's what they wanted to know. It was all about the experience. It was all about what I knew and how long I did it for. So yes, I think internships and any opportunity of learning like hands on is really important.
Awesome. And then the second thing too is, um, you got this job simply by asking, how are you doing today? You know, just being personable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's also, very important. Sometimes all of us, no matter the generation, we all can be stuck in, the common thing is our cell phones, stuck on social media or just stuck looking at a screen that sometimes we forget the human touch, so to speak. Just being personal, just asking how someone's doing or just saying hello. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Um, and then so now, I understand you got a new job, you're back in the Bay Area. So what are you doing now?
So I work for a biotech company. It's a startup. They've been out for about 8 years now, but they're still considered a startup. They're still constantly growing. Their name is Color Genomics. I work as a lab accessioner there. We actually do processing of COVID samples. So I work with COVID samples on the daily, which
Hmm,
I think is really cool because I'm contributing to this like new thing that just came into our world, right? Um, um, yeah, that's kind of like where I'm at right now. Um, but it took me a minute to get, well, it took me a lot of applying and a lot of like hearing like a couple interviews and then telling my them telling me like, oh, unfortunately at this moment we decided to go with a different candidate, or we really liked you and we would like to offer you a position, however like you don't have enough experience, so we're going to try to find you something else. And then I would just have to wait, and a lot of like, I guess, rejection, and also like just not enough experience. That's a lot of the words I heard. I was like, I would get into these interviews and they would ask me like questions where it was really hard to elaborate. It was more like yes or no question, like, do you know this? Yes or no kind of thing. And if you do know this, then yeah, elaborate on it. But if you don't, then let's move on to the next question. So a lot of the times it kind of felt like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I don't know. Like, am I even gonna get anything? Do I even have enough experience? Like I thought I did a lot already. Um, so it wasn't like like super easy, but I did eventually stumble upon this opportunity, and I was super lucky and grateful to get this. So that's where I currently am. Yeah.
Okay. And then so, um, you started looking for jobs during the pandemic.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
you graduated while the pandemic was still on. So can you just like, share a little bit of that experience where it's just like, okay, I'm finishing my last quarter from my couch during the pandemic, and then now I got to go out and find a job. And you said you dealt with a lot of rejection. So how did you emotionally and psychologically deal with that? I mean, you know, that's a lot.
Well, I feel like I got a little bit adjusted to the whole online and pandemic thing over my last year, because that's most of my last year at Davis was through the pandemic, online classes, a lot of adjusting to all of these new ways of doing things, all of these online learning and self-learning. It was definitely a lot of adjustment. I think that I really kept a close group of people around me that were like in the same boat as me, that we were all like doing similar things and supported each other in that aspect. A lot of my friends actually graduated in the summer, so like in June, May, June. So most of them left me then, but then they were applying for jobs at that time. So like I would ask them and I'd be like, "Oh, what are you applying to? What did they tell you? How did it go?" Like a lot of intel from them, so I could also like kind of like have an idea and keep a better like more peace of mind, of like what was gonna happen when I did it, and like uh I feel like you just have to be really optimistic and be like, okay, if this isn't like the end, there's plenty of opportunities. Like you just got to keep applying, you got to keep your mind open, you got to keep your eyes open, you got to keep your connections close, you want to talk to people, you want to like um promote yourself, you want to highlight the skills you do have so that you seem like a good candidate for them, and then eventually they can get to know you and see and be like, oh yeah, this is a good candidate for our company. So I think that it was just keeping optimistic was what really helped me, and just like thinking like, well, if I don't get this, there's the next one, there's the next one, there's always going to be something, there has to be something. And I always thought like, well, if I got that rejection, maybe that just wasn't the place for me. Maybe the place for me hasn't come yet. So it's just keeping an open mind, I feel like, is what really helped me get through all of that. Yeah.
Okay,
And
awesome.
and also realizing that these rejections didn't mean that I didn't know enough or that I wasn't like good enough, because I am. It was knowing that maybe in that area I just needed more experience, but in a different area I had those experiences. So I needed to find where I could be like the best candidate for them as well, and they could be suitable for me. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Knowing your limits,
Yeah.
selecting, to your strengths.
Yeah.
So we have a question from the audience, and
Okay.
it pertains to internships, and it reads, are the internships hard to get, um, in comparison to before the COVID and during COVID?
I think internships are definitely challenging to get. It depends really on the circumstances or where you're looking for them. Um, but just because it seems that it may be hard to get shouldn't stop you from applying. And if you do get rejected, apply again, because sometimes that second time they'll be like, they'll see that you really want that opportunity and you will get it. And if I always like to reach out if I didn't really get like what I didn't like, where I didn't qualify or why, I like to reach out and be like obviously like really politely and very like well constructed like email or something, and be like, oh, like I just wanted to kind of like know what like I can work on, what I could do to like make myself like a better candidate for the future for like another opportunity like this. So yes, internships can be hard to obtain, but they're not impossible. And the only way that you're going to get these is if you keep applying and you keep trying, and you just can't give up. You just got to keep doing it. Like if that's what you want, you just got to keep doing it, because you're going to get it at some point. Yeah.
Excellent. I heard
Yeah.
that. And then so we got another question from the audience. Are there any particular study habits that helped you succeed at Davis as a transfer student?
So when it comes to study habits, I think that we can't all have the same study habit. Everybody learns differently. I tried to study the same way my friends did. It didn't always work. You have to figure out what works for you. Um, I can share, like, I guess what helped me, but I just want everybody to keep an open mind that you need to find what suits you, because if you can't find that, then you're never going to be able to maximize your learning and maximize like doing well. Yeah. So for me, like what really helped was like I think I mentioned before, I had like a groups of friends that were in my major or my classes, and we would host like weekly study sessions where we would all like review the material for the week or complete the study guides and like really discuss these topics and like where were the gaps where we didn't understand, because maybe I understood a part of the material that they didn't, so I can explain that to them, and so on. They can do the same thing for me as well, right? So that's one of the things that I did in Davis a lot. I also I learned in Davis that you really need to like, or at least from my classes, that you need to understand the concept. Stop memorizing something can help you, but it's not really going to help you if you don't understand it, because they really want to see you learn. So the way that they format the questions most of the time, you will only get the right answer if you fully understand the concept. And if you were to like get an incorrect answer because the wording was funny, but you know the understanding, it's really it's you have there's a chance that you could technically bring this up to the professor and tell them what you understood, and that you could get partial credit for it, or that you could get accredited full because maybe it didn't make sense. This doesn't always happen, but it's better to understand it, because then you can really argue that and be able to say why you did select that. So I guess that's what my advice would be for like study habits. Yeah.
All right. So we do have a um, uh, positive message from our new dean, Dr. Thompson, and he just wanted to say that we are proud of your accomplishments.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And then we also have another question. You can see the questions, right? Correct?
I am not
Okay.
yes, I can see them actually. I
Okay.
wasn't on it, but yes, I can see it.
Okay. So someone's asking for your contact information. So you can type the answer and you can
Okay.
send it to them privately. So if you click type answer, send privately if you want to share your contact information with this
Okay,
individual.
cool. Yeah, definitely. I can definitely do that. Also, like anybody that's watching this, you guys can add me on LinkedIn. Marleny Ramos, really easy. I'm pretty sure that I'll show up as, if you're a Kenyatta student, I'm going to show up as like a second connection. So add me, connect with me. I would be happy to chat to you there. I am really busy. Sometimes I can't get to the messages quick, but I will get to them and I will reply and I will give you the best advice I can. Yeah.
All right. So before, we end this episode, you have shared so much. You dropped some gems, and some life gems as well. Sometimes, we just focus solely on the academic aspect, when, this is a holistic thing, this is a life decision. And like I said, this is a foundation for us. Um, is there anything that you would like to share? But prior to that, let's answer this question. So I'll give you a second. So it says, the question reads, you mentioned that you currently work with COVID-related projects. Any insight on the different vaccines that they offer to us? Which one is better?
So I don't work with vaccines. I work with taking samples for COVID. So we do COVID testing, not with vaccines. So I can't really give you an educated answer for that. Yeah, I can only tell you what the internet tells you because that's all the information that I have as well. But I can't tell you which. Yeah, I think they're all pretty effective, just like it says it there. I'm fully vaccinated, so yeah.
Awesome. I like that. I like that. So go ahead. So the last minute takeaway, what's that, final thought that you'd like to share with our students to keep them moving, keep them on the path?
So I think something really important that I have had in mind is to tell everybody that everybody has a different path in their journey. Don't let like things like push you down or interfere, and if they do, like keep moving forward, like keep trying and obtaining those goals, because if you keep that, like if you keep your goal in mind and you remind yourself why you're doing these things, it's all going to work out. It doesn't have to be necessarily in like a certain time frame, because I feel like a lot of people think, oh my god, I need to do this in 4 years and get it done. No, everybody has a different journey. Like somebody that's taking somebody could maybe finish a degree in 3 years, somebody can finish a degree in 10 years, but there's always a reason behind that. And that journey, you just have to like, you have to just keep pushing through whatever you would like to do, and just remind yourself of that goal, because everybody has a different way of working things, and you're only going to do your best if you do it at your own timeline, and you do what makes you passionate and what you are excited to do. So I think that's what I would really share with everybody.
All right, Marleny. Well, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here with us this evening. And, we're going to check in again with you, later on once you're further into your career and, bring you back and then you can, talk about that and how that's going.
Yeah,
Sounds
definitely.
good.
I would be happy to do
Thank
that.
you. All right. Awesome.
Well, thank you everybody for listening and for asking questions. Like I said, add me on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to help anybody, really.